You done fell right down that rabbit hole, so reality is questionable. Try, but you just can't let it go. These two right here put on the show. It's paranormal overload with southern hospitality. Haunted murder, mayhem, tip while discussing immortality. Locations with a dark past, history that comes to life. Hillbillies with a knack for everything that goes bump at night. Overthinking if you by yourself, these two will have you turning on the lights. Mixing in a little comedy to make sure it all fits in just right. Hey.
Welcome to Hillbilly Horror Stories. Now here's your hosts, Jerry and Tracy Hall, and their dog Ninja.
And sometimes their cat Freddy, but never the ferrets.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 400 of Hillbilly Horror Stories. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Tracy. Hooty hoo!
Tracy, obviously we want to start off the way we do every week, thanking all of our military and civil servants all over the world, no matter which country you represent. Thanks for everything you men, women, and service animals do for us on a daily basis.
You guys are in our prayers for always and forever. We love you guys so much. Thank you for keeping us safe and able to sleep at night. You are our angels.
Tracy, this is it's not the way we normally enter this part of the show, but this coming Tuesday, I've got a special episode that I'm releasing. We've been doing the classic listener stories episode on Tuesday, but this is actually going to be listener stories, but they are very emotional.
Uh-oh.
So instead of, these are actually all recently done. I've got a good friend of mine, Jennifer. I got Lisa that we're doing. And then I've also got one that I was going to include tonight from Christy Ayers that I'm decided to make kind of part of this episode.
Okay.
Because it's also one of those that are very emotional. And the reason that I bring that up right here is because there's suicide mentioned in both of those cases. Two of the three cases, suicide is a prevalent part of it. But it actually just kind of listening to these stories over the last couple of nights when we were recording them just really made me think about how much people go through. And, you know, normally this is somebody who reached out to us or something that brings us up, but just listening to their stories just made me really think about, just let people know, look, everybody's going through some stuff. Don't be afraid to talk about it, because the situation can definitely escalate, which you'll hear in those stories.
Oh, okay. Well, I thank them for sharing those stories.
Yes, and I know that was hard for both of them.
Yeah, well, sometimes it takes a minute, you know what I'm saying? It takes a minute for them to, you know, realize that they can reach out, you know, and if you all want to reach out to our group, you know, do that. We have about a bazillion wonderful people in our group, which we are so proud of. And you can call me or Jerry, either one. Just send us a message. We'll give you our phone numbers. And, you know, you guys are not alone. Please don't think you ever are. But if you'd rather go a different route, you can call the crisis hotline at 988. You can text 741-741. But just reach out. You'll feel so much better once you do.
Yes, 100%. All right, Tracy, we have covered a few national parks over the years. Yellowstone, Bodie, both come to mind. Tonight we're going to cover, I say we're going to cover a park, but it's not as much the park as the town that's within the park. So we're going to discuss a town that I didn't even know existed until I started researching this, Bannack State Park in Montana. It's right in the middle of the countryside, about 25 miles from a main highway, I-15. Now, this is about 25 miles from Dillon, Montana, and that name will come up a few times during the course of this story. So the town of Bannack, that some refer to as a ghost town, is actually situated near Grasshopper Creek. How fun does that sound?
That sounds great.
This is where gold was first discovered in the state of Montana.
Nice. I wish I was there at that time. Got me some gold on.
So some say that Bannack is more of a living classroom than a dead ghost town. So, like I said, technically we're going to talk more about the town of Bannack than the state park. Still, I bet the spirits take a hike every now and then through the state park. So,
You think they do? They take a hike?
I'm just saying. So Bannack has about 20 buildings.
What if they just float?
The buildings?
No, the people, the ghost, I mean.
You can still hike as a float.
What?
I mean, you can still float through the woods. That's kind of the same as a hike.
I guess so.
Okay, so if you was in a wheelchair and you went up a trail, you wouldn't consider that a hike?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, same
I have
thing.
mad respect for that too. Since I can't hike with a crud. With about, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Bannack has about 20 buildings that we're going to call points of interest that are preserved and stabilized. Now, these buildings were preserved but not renovated, and that's important. So you get to actually step back in time when you go and see exactly how they were back when they were first being used.
I wish everything would stay like that, you know, when it comes to buildings or whatever. It just would be more interesting than them being renovated.
Right.
But I guess at a point you have to, so.
Yes. All of these buildings are located on Main Street. Now, Tracy, I've seen where you can actually do a self-guided tour, and it kind of reminds me of the one in Gettysburg where they give you a map. Mm-hmm. I think this map's only like $2 too. So they give you a map, and the map's got all the places located and then kind of something about them.
Yeah.
So each one's got like a number, so you can just go, This is number 3. This is the Mead Hotel or whatever the deal is.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that's the way Gettysburg was also. And $2 is basically nothing unless you're Kenny from South Park.
It's well worth the $2.
Main Street has some nice wooden plank sidewalks.
No way.
Yep, so you can walk on while you're admiring the buildings. But you can also walk straight up to the building and get a closer look if you want to. You don't have to stay on the sidewalk.
That's awesome.
Some of the buildings, like the Mead Hotel, and I don't know if this is correct or not, I've seen it within the same articles written as the Hotel Mead.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And the Mead Hotel. Same thing about Casadega, where we're going to. It says Hotel Casadega on the building, but then people call it Casadega Hotel. So I don't know.
I like it the other way.
Yeah, I don't know what
it just flows better.
I don't know what the proper is, but I'm guessing it's Hotel Mead, but I have seen it both ways. But my point is, with Hotel Mead, you can actually go into the building and even go upstairs.
Like by yourself, you can.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a tour guide.
Just know that there's really not much in most of the building. It's just some basic walls and floors. A few of the buildings, though, like the Combo Mason / schoolhouse. It's a schoolhouse and Masonic Lodge, I guess.
Oh, I was going to say that was the name of my school, Mason.
Yeah, this one's like a Mason place to be able to have meetings and stuff.
Yeah,
Masonic.
but so you can go in there and have just close your eyes and let your imagination go back to what you think it might have been.
Well, in that building, they actually have some furniture on display. Mm-hmm. So this was actually, the furniture itself was actually used by the people who lived there in the late 1800s.
Oh, man, that's
awesome. So it's
awesome.
authentic to the building.
Very cool.
The old Methodist church was built in 1887, and it's still used for events even today. They even do concerts there.
Oh, so no church goings anymore?
I don't think they do any actual church goings, just concerts. It's an event hall.
Well, I'm glad they are putting it to use.
All right, so that's a little bit about the town in general. Let's talk about some history here. Back when gold was discovered, Grasshopper Creek was basically nothing. It was just wilderness, like it should have been. That's when John White and some of the fellow members of the Colorado Pikes Peakers came in there and discovered gold in 1862. There needed to be a town, so Bannack was started. By spring of 1863, there were close to 3,000 people in Bannack.
Oh, dang. That grew quick.
Yeah, so in a year's time, it went from wilderness to 3,000 people.
Do you ever wonder who first discovered there was gold there? I mean, how would they know to go there?
It was probably an accident.
So you think that was?
Yeah,
Well, why would anybody?
in most cases.
Why would anybody tell anybody?
Well, I don't know why they would tell anybody. People had big mouths.
No, I guess. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Or maybe prospectors. That's why they were called prospectors. They would go to places not sure if there was gold and just start digging and see if they get it or paying for it. So who knows?
True.
So the town of Bannack became official in November of 1863 when the post office was established. I guess that's what it took to be an official city.
Yeah.
And then they registered with Washington, D.C. The town grew so quick that the territorial officials couldn't really establish an effective government, ways to solve disagreements amongst the citizens, of course, or even ways to deal with outlaws. So during 1863, Bannack did have a chief of justice by the name of Sidney Edgerton living in the town, but he basically had no power. He didn't have any way of, backing up the local law enforcement because there was no federal marshals. So even though he was a big shot in government, he couldn't do anything either.
Oh, well, what's the point of having that title if you can't do anything?
Well, I mean, he'd be good if people had to go to court.
Lily, why did you fart? Like you farted all up in here.
That's disgusting.
Sorry.
So to avoid trouble amongst the miners themselves actually organized and they founded an organization to police themselves called Miners Court.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. So they set up these very simple laws concerning claims, and that actually stopped a lot of the trouble that was happening in other towns, which was primarily people being killed over mine claims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because of the booming growth and the wealth made in Bannack, the town was named the county seat of Beaver Head County. By 1881, though, the gold rush was over, and we all know what happens to these booming towns after they lose their gold.
Yeah, they went bleh.
Yeah, belly up. This one didn't happen as quick, though. The county seat was eventually switched over to Dillon. I said we'd hear more about Dillon. Because Bannack had just dropped down to the point where there was no population there. So Dillon was the next closest place. And actually, the town would eventually close down in 1940 when the mines closed for good. So even though 1886 the gold rush was over, they still managed to be effective at pulling gold out of those mines for another 45 years.
Wow.
But they didn't. The town kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking during that course of time.
I know, but it's just so hard to believe that just a town would just close down and like everybody would move. That's just so weird.
But if your only income
is the gold,
was the working in the mines, and then the mines closed down, you don't have a way of making a living.
Well, that's true. That just seems a shame, though. Couldn't they plow a field or something and grow some veggies?
Well, I mean, I guess they probably could have. I don't think Montana is prime gardening, considering they're cold for a big part of the year.
Oh, that's very true.
They could herd cattle, though. They're pretty big up there.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the last people left town in the late 1940s, like we said, concerned people of both Dillon and Bannack worked hard to be able to buy the town. They didn't want it to go away. They were actually able to get the courts to order the mining company to put the area up for auction in 1954. So I'm assuming the mining companies owned everything in town.
That sounds like it.
Not just the mines, but the buildings and the businesses and all that. Even though the city went up for auction in 1954, the people of western Montana actually began stabilizing the important buildings back in 1947. So even 7 years before they could even buy it, they were already working on the buildings to make sure that they would
be
last.
Ready. Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
All right, so that's history on the town. Let's get in to the paranormal. So we mentioned a little bit earlier, Hotel Meade. This was a very solid building. It was a very impressive 2-story brick building built in 1875. It was first used as the Beaver Head, I love that name.
Beaver Head?
The Beaver Head County Courthouse. And that was the time when Bannack was the county seat, obviously.
Right.
So they needed to have the courthouse. Now, of course, the county seat was moved to Dillon. And, Dillon at the time, I guess, had flourished as a freight city. So that was the logical choice to move the county seat there. But the building actually stood vacant from 1881 to 1890 because of that.
Really?
Because it was a courthouse.
Of course, and then
once the court moved, there was they didn't have a use for it.
Right. Nothing going on.
Right. And that's when Dr. John Singleton Mead bought the building. He did some remodeling and he turned it into a plush hotel.
Well, I did not think I was going to go there. I thought you was going to say a big old doctor's office.
Well, I would have think the fact that I called it the Mead Hotel that you could have figured it out.
Well, I guess I just kind of go right over my head. That flew right over.
The Mead Hotel became the center of the town's social activities. It actually provided a nice place for people to stay when they were visiting from out of town. And the growing clientele forced them to actually build on a large kitchen, an additional dining room, and a living quarters. All that was built onto the back of the building.
Oh, good.
The large main dining room was filled with tables, which seated 4 to 6 people. And at times, the hotel was also used as a makeshift hospital when needed. I don't understand how. Now, granted, back then it still had a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand how it needs to be used as a makeshift hospital. There's not that many people in town. Unless they had like yellow fever or something like that.
Maybe they got food poisoning from the dinner.
Well, we're getting ready to find out some of this stuff.
Oh.
See, I already know. So I'm cheating a little bit. All right. The hotel closed for good in the 1940s. And that's kind of when the whole town shut down. So made sense. As far as the spirits, there's a young girl in her teens by the name of Dorothy Dunn. She drowned in the dredge pond along Grasshopper Creek on August 4th, 1916.
Well, that's a shame.
She first appeared to her best friend. And that's the young lady, the best friend, she was actually with the day she died. When she decided to go swimming, her friend witnessed the drowning of Dorothy.
Well, she didn't even try to go save her?
I didn't say she didn't try to save her. I just said she witnessed her die.
Oh.
I mean, if she got in and got swept away with the current, what are you going to do?
That I would not want to see that. That's a terrible thing.
Dorothy's apparition is still seen today, but primarily by children. Dorothy is seen wearing a blue dress, and she has tried to talk to children. Probably asking if they've seen her little dog Toto.
Nice.
She's been seen looking out some of the second-story windows of the Mead Hotel. Also, she's been seen in one of the guest rooms and a large front room with a balcony that overlooks the street. Now, Dorothy was the daughter of the hotel manager at that time, and she probably had access to the large suite, which might be why she's seen in there sometimes. Back in February of 2005, paranormal investigator Greg Birchfield did an investigation on the house, or the hotel, I guess I should say. On this particular night, Greg went up to the second floor. Now, he was all alone at this time. He went up the front staircase carrying his recording equipment. But when he got to the second floor, near the staircase and in front of the large front room, which was locked, he felt a presence and a very cold spot. So he started his equipment up and he asked, "Are you a little chicken?" Why he would ask that? No clue. The response? "Check it out." And the voice that said "check it out" seemed to sound like a teenage spirit.
I'd be like, do I look like a chicken, fool? What in the world of all things would he say that?
I have no idea. There's also supposed to be an older woman who also haunts the second floor. Now, she's been seen looking out the second floor windows with visitors. Not much is known about who this spirit is supposed to be, though. Another common occurrence is the sound of children crying. Some think that these cries may be psychic impressions, or what other people call residual energy, from the days when kids were scared of Native American attacks. So get this. In one instance, children were actually locked in a safe So they were crying, and maybe that's these kids
Oh,
that are
probably
coming back.
so, yeah.
Or, and I think this might be more likely than that instance, but it could be from when the hotel was used as a hospital. But probably the most common paranormal activity are unexplained code spots. Most seem to think that Dr. John Singleton Mead is still around, just kind of keeping an eye on the place. Tracy, sometimes I like to look up guest reviews on hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a pretty damn long one from 2005 from the Mead Hotel.
Ooh.
That's right. It was still doing stuff with it. I don't know if it's still open right now.
Uh-huh. But you said it was a long review?
Yeah, it's a pretty long review. I'm getting ready to read it to you. Word for word. All right, Tracy. This was at 10 a.m. August 2005. And the person said, arrived at Bannack Ghost Town. Tom and I visited Bannack and the Hotel Mead during a working vacation on a crisp August morning. I was wearing a heavy coat, a hat, with gloves because it was nippy outside. What? See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It was August, and in Montana it was nippy outside and they were wearing a coat.
And gloves. Come on now.
The park ranger told us that the Hotel Mead was haunted, so I went on alone because Tom said he wanted to get some other photos and would catch up with me. The heavy front wooden door opens inward. Upon entering the front door, one finds the lobby/reception area with a curving, once elegant staircase which winds up to the second floor where the guest rooms are located. Looking straight ahead is the large dining room. I don't know why the dining room's looking straight ahead. With a side room off of the wide hallway. Other rooms where food was prepared and the kitchen are also found off of the main hallway. I walked alone around the spooky downstairs, trying to imagine how grand it once was, waiting for my husband Tom to join me. No one else who was living was in the building with me. I thought I'd be polite and quietly talk to whomever unseen entity was there, as I verbally admired the various rooms as if I was visiting as a guest, talking to the host.
Cool.
While studying the various dining rooms, kitchen area, etc., here and there one sees glimpses of fine flooring, wallpaper, and other evidence of how beautiful this hotel was in its heyday. The main staircase in the front lobby has a lovely wood carving on the rails and had at one time fancy steps, which must have been inviting for tired travelers. There ain't no steps inviting for tired travelers.
No. I'm a no-step kind of girl.
During the tour of the downstairs, I didn't feel a presence, but then again, I usually don't. While the downstairs was cold, so was the outside, and I was warmly dressed. So if there were cold spots, I didn't notice them. After taking a look around the very quiet, still chilly downstairs, I decided to see where my better half went, as there was something too spooky about going up to the second floor alone. There was something about the shadowy staircase leading up to the second floor from the kitchen that made me decide not to go up there just yet. I turned into the main hallway and I walked through the lobby toward the large front door of the building, which I had left open. When I was about 50 yards away from the door in the main lobby, the heavy wooden door suddenly was pushed hard from inside with a hard slam. I jumped and let out a yelp of surprise. There was no wind outside, and the only explanation was that an unseen presence wanted to let me know that I wasn't as alone as I thought I was on the first floor, and that he wanted to see me jump for chuckles. As I have limited psychic ability, entities who had wanted to say hi to me in past adventures got my attention through physical means. I had this happen at the Gold Hill Hotel and the Horton Grand Hotel as well. Or perhaps this entity wasn't pleased that I didn't come up to the second floor for a visit, or maybe upset that I left the door open in the first place. I apologized verbally for leaving the door open, and I made a hasty exit. I did go back to the hotel with husband Tom to have a living escort this time as we explored the hotel together. The second floor as well about 30 minutes later. Tom took some pictures with its digital camera, which captured the atmosphere of the building on both floors. So here's some musings about the second floor. Yikes, I'm glad I waited for Tom. And this was 10:45 in the morning. Though we didn't see anything physical in the guest rooms, the atmosphere in the upstairs rooms and hallway were definitely different and a bit unnerving, especially near the large front room. On the second floor, the largest room, probably used for important people, is located in the very front of the building, and it has a large balcony giving an excellent view. The room was locked. Paranormal investigator Greg Birchfield reports on his website that the doors are locked because of supernatural events, which have happened in the room. An entity or two are still calling the hotel home, and they don't appreciate visits from the living. So that was her review of it, the hotel.
Nice. Well, everything when you kept mentioning the heavy door, all I could think about was Becky
At Waverly.
at Waverly.
Becky and Kim.
Yeah.
All right. Chrisman's Store is the next place we're going to discuss.
Okay. Was like a grocery store?
No, originally this was a general store. It had an office in the back that was used by the notorious Henry Plummer. We're going to talk a lot about Henry.
Oh, I was like, who the heck is that?
Henry was a prospector, a lawman, and also an outlaw. He liked to play both sides of the fence. He was a jack of all trades, I guess. He was known to have killed several men. So the store was actually a huge draw of several of the men in town. It was kind of like a male bonding place, kind of like McDonald's in the morning is for old
people
men going in for coffee and stuff. Well, that's the way this place was. They would actually go there and get all their supplies that they needed. But like this said, this was the 1800s. Men did all the shopping back then. So the government store was the news bureau, so to speak, the watering hole that everybody gathered to find out what was going on. The fireplace actually provided a very warm area for these conversations to take place. So it was also the rumor mill, as you can imagine.
Oh, I'm sure. Because men gossip more than women do.
Absolutely. Some of the spirits apparently continue to bond and have even been captured on film. There's a young lady whose business, Judith of Ghost, Poltergeist, and Hauntings, took those pictures. So she's actually got a picture on her website, and the picture shows a group of foggy apparitions kind of grouped around, I guess, some furniture that are there in conversation at the general store.
Oh, that's cool.
It is cool.
I wish we could get lucky to get something like that on film.
Yeah, that would be cool, but we won't. All right, Tracy, so we now are going to discuss the Bassett house, but we're going to talk more about Henry a little bit later. He's got his own little section of story in here.
Okay.
This house was the house of longtime Bannack resident Fed Amity Bassett.
Goodness.
He was one of the original vigilantes who actually stopped in the murdering practice of Plummer.
Oh, interesting.
He lived his entire life in a Bannack, and he raised sheep.
He raised sheep?
Yeah, he raised sheep. At one point, he actually owned the Farmers Bank and the very famous Exchange Saloon, and he owned the Hotel Mead at one point. He died in Bannack in 1919.
Dang. Well,
so he did a lot.
I was supposed to say, he's had his hand in a little bit of everything.
Now, he's somebody who really cared about Bannack. In fact, he let his house become an official house of quarantine when some major epidemics actually swept through the area. So epidemics like typhoid and diphtheria were major issues at the time.
So where did he go then, if he lent his house out?
I have no idea. Maybe he probably had other places to stay with all the other stuff. He probably stayed at the hotel.
You would think he'd let the hotel instead of his own home.
And you would think, but
I mean, that was very generous of him.
So when these diseases came to town, they would obviously take out the most vulnerable, which were the elderly and children. And most of these people, when they went to his house under quarantine, they stayed there till they either recovered or, unfortunately, till they passed away. And I'll give you an example. In the 1880s, 14 infants died in that house of smallpox alone.
Oh, man.
So we spoke about paranormal investigator Greg Birchfield earlier. He actually took a picture of his kids in the attic of this house. So I guess he brought them along for part of the tours or something. He takes a picture of them, and there were small orbs right next to the children. Not like the kind that are like dust or
Yeah,
whatever.
right,
These
right.
were pretty obvious and multicolored orbs.
Oh, they were multicolored?
Yes.
So you think it was like the little babies or something?
I mean, it's very possible. I couldn't actually find the picture. I'm just going by what was said on the description of the picture. So let's now cover the tale of Henry Plummer. I told you he had his own little section. Henry, again, jack of all trades. I don't think he was a plumber, though, because they didn't really have a lot of plumbing back then.
Let's go pay outhouse it is.
He was a sheriff, a thief, but he was also the victim of some mob justice, and we're going to figure out why. But first, instead of breaking for a sponsor break, that sounded redundant, but instead of doing that, I'm going to use this opportunity to remind everybody that this coming Saturday, 6 days from today, if you're listening on Sunday, is our live event in Casadega. There are still a handful of tickets left, but here's the big news there. We have decided to make this a virtual event for those of you who cannot come. So Diane and Kelly are kind of running with this one. But if you go to our website, you can purchase tickets there for $5. We will live stream the event and you can check it out. So for $5, you get to see the entire show.
Wow.
You won't be able to taste the food. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to do that yet. And you won't get to shake our hands or buy a t-shirt.
Oh.
But either way. That's but for $5, and this is the first time we've ever done this.
I was gonna say that's a new one.
If it goes well, I don't even think you knew about it, to be honest.
No, I didn't.
But if it goes well, we will do some more of these in the future, and so there you go. But go to our website, hillbillyhorrorstories.com. There'll be a link if you want to purchase tickets to that.
Oh wow, sounds cool.
All right, so back to the story. Let's cover Henry Plummer. Henry came to Montana from the East Coast. He was the son of a sea captain, and he came to Bannack after the luxurious 6-month stint in San Quentin prison.
Oh, well, 6 months? That ain't too bad.
It should have been more. He actually killed his girlfriend's husband.
Wait a minute. His girlfriend? Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to get to all the details on this.
I had to think about that, what you just said for a second.
So he had committed some other crimes too, but this was kind of the big one, and murder kind of stands out.
Of course.
He didn't start off this way, though. When he came to Nevada City, in fact, he worked very hard at a bakery, and he actually went and got him a mining claim. He was able to save enough money to buy a ranch, and he was well liked and admired by most of the people in his town where he had lived. He was just 24 years old when he accomplished all this. And then he was elected sheriff. And he did such a great job that he was reelected in 1852.
Well, he's just a go-getter, isn't he?
Well, his troubles began, though, when he took something that wasn't his. Another man's wife.
Yep.
He wound up having a duel with the irate man. And in the duel, Henry killed him. That's what he was convicted of murder and sent to San Quentin. Only on a 10-year sentence, though. And I'm guessing it's because the sentence was light because it was a duel. Because it was a duel, the people came to his defense. And they said, hey, this was a duel, so therefore it was self-defense. If he didn't shoot him, that guy would have killed him. So...
Well, how bizarre.
Yeah. So
I wonder how that heifer thought about all this.
Well, I have no idea what she thought about all this. So, because of all the support from the townspeople, he was actually released on a 6-month prison sentence.
Okay. So he
was,
did do 6 months and then he was out.
Yeah. But he was supposed to be doing 10 years.
Did he get reelected sheriff, though? That's the big question.
Yes.
No, he did not.
Well, he moved.
Oh.
He moved to Bannack when he got out.
Okay.
So that was back in Nevada.
So
Where
what
he was
happened to
sheriff.
the girl then?
I have no idea what happened to the girl.
Oh. She caused all this trouble and she didn't go with him?
Well, and then prison changed Henry, and not in a good way. Like, for example, well, I'm not going to give any specific examples, but let's just say that prison was a brutal experience for Henry.
Uh-oh.
We'll just leave it at that. It definitely was not a deterrent for him to go back. So after this, Henry actually acted on the worst parts of his character. And he decided that stealing from other people was probably the best way to make a living once he was released from prison. He would actually blow any money he had left. He joined a gang, and he would rob stagecoaches. He would then join other gangs in his life as he went on. So keep in mind, while at San Quentin, he made some unsavory friends, we'll say. He would actually meet up with one of these acquaintances in 1862 while he was on run from the law. This meeting took place in Idaho. In January 1863, he appeared in Bannack. He won over the people of Bannack with his charming personality. Even the miners' court, which we mentioned earlier, they trusted him to the point to where he could pretty much get away with murder, I guess. He could get away with anything in the city because they were the law, and they just thought he was fantastic. Then Henry Powell was elected sheriff there.
Did they not know?
Well, no, how are they going to do background checks back then? In the 1860s.
I mean, I know that. No, they can't do that, but you still think they would find out somehow.
You would think. But he definitely took advantage of his position working both sides of the law. All kinds of men came by to try their luck against Henry. Alongside the honest, hard-working, fair men who actually founded the miners' court, there were the other not-so-friendly people. River pirates, Civil War defectors on both sides, professional gamblers, outlaws, and any type of villain you could think of. People in the town, though, eventually put two and two together and said, you know what? The common denominator here is Henry Plummer. So he had to be involved with most of these bad people being in town. So something had to be done to stop the killing. And on December 23rd, 1863, the first vigilante committee was organized, forming a posse of men from Virginia City and Bannack. By the end, they had hunted down and hung 24 of the robbers on the spot.
Whoa.
They also hung Henry Plummer at the gallows on the hill just above Bannack.
No kidding.
Yep.
Well, that's not a very good Christmas gift.
No. And two deputies on the same night because it was feared that they were going to tip off Plummer. And they didn't, I don't guess, because they hung all of them at the same time.
Wow.
Harry Plummer was buried in a box in Hangman's Gulch at the age of 29 years old.
He has done a lot in a short lifetime.
Yes, and as you can imagine, his spirit is seen all over the city on a regular basis.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure. Yeah, like I say, he's even a go-getter after death.
He is.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the story of Bannack.
Well, I mean, at least he led his life to the fullest.
He did. That he did.
Yeah.
A little bit of murdering, a little bit of thieving, a little bit of sheriffing, a little bit of everything.
Right.
So, anyways, that's the story we got for you. We're gonna take a really quick sponsor break, and then we'll be back to tell you some other stuff. All right, Tracy. So again, I already touched on it, so it won't beat a dead horse. But go to our website, hillbillyhorrorstories.com. That's where you can get tickets to the live event and the virtual live event coming up. You can also get live events to the St. Augustine store that we're doing in August. I said store. St. Augustine show that we're doing in August with History Goes Bump, our guest at St. Augustine and Cassadaga. And then we got the cruise.
Gosh.
You're running out of time. You got to have your payments in by July. Go join up. All that information's on our website.
Yeah, we're excited to hopefully meet some new people and see some of our old friends that went on the cruise the last time. So we're very, very excited about that. So get y'all sail on with us.
Tracy, what do you got going on over there?
Not too much. We had our good old Mojo Lobster did not let us down this week for the review. That's the only one we had. But that's okay.
It's not okay. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but like we've said it 1,000 times, we appreciate all your all's reviews. It really helps us out a lot. So, we just thank you guys for taking the time out to do that for us. It means a lot.
And we did get some comments on our YouTube page, so thank you for that.
Oh yeah, good, perfect.
So before we get out of here this week, I want to end on a song that was sent to us, a new theme song. We'll be using it at live events and stuff, but we are so happy with this, and it's thanks to Bob Hicks, but from Tales of the Dark. But man, I'm telling you, this is such a cool song. So we're going to play that for you right now. It's only 2 minutes long. Give it a listen and give us some feedback and see what you think. You can leave us a review and tell us what you think of the song in there.
Out in the backwoods where the darkness creeps, there's a podcast that'll make you lose your sleep. Hosted by Jerry and Tracy, with tales to tell, from the eerie to the chilling, they cast their spell. True stories behind the silver screen, rock and roll and the occult in between. Unsolved mysteries and crimes of the night, hillbilly horror stories under the moonlight. Turn up the volume, let the guitars roar. Jerry and Tracy are knocking on your door. From the depths of darkness to the light of day, hillbilly horror stories, come one may. With laughter and scares, they'll take you away to realms of the paranormal where shadows play. From ghostly encounters to demons unleashed, Jerry and Tracy keep you on the edge, never ceased. With a touch of humor, they spin their tales. Through the twists and turns, the listener prevails. For the true believers and skeptics alike, hillbilly horror stories take a hike. Turn up the volume, let the guitars roar. Jerry and Tracy are knocking on your door. From the depths of darkness to the light of day, hillbilly horror stories, come one may.
So there you go. All right, guys, that wraps it up for us this week.
I hope you guys have a blessed week. We love y'all.